Guys, this latest chapter of One Punch Man was downright breathtaking, with some absolutely monumental developments that will without a shadow of a doubt be major for the future of the series. It is a very exciting time to be a fan of One Punch Man, so if you'd like to see more OPM content from us, be sure to subscribe to Plot Armor with notifications on. Your support lately has been mind-blowing, so we'll be sure to continue doing our best to bring you the best content we can. With the previous chapter, King was faced by the many threat-level dragon adversaries present on the battlefield. An unmoving King being a rather unsettling thing indeed for these monsters, as they had absolutely no idea how he fought at all. And rumor had it that King could make monsters lose consciousness without even touching them, and so they simply could not afford to let their guard down. Homeless Emperor would then decide to test King, seeing how he'd do against evading his attacks, as just before he was able to launch said attack, King would stop him and question if he hadn't noticed it yet, then telling Homeless to look under his feet. A sentiment that immediately placed fear into the heart of Homeless, followed by a rush of confusion, which would be responded to by King as, according to him, the rubble Homeless was standing on looked to be pretty unstable, and so he figured he should let him know. In turn, Homeless would begin to panic, now reading between the lines to surmise that what King truly meant was that he'd be able to not only dodge his fear, but make it to him in an instant. And so there was no way he'd be able to escape given the state of the ground supporting him. Homeless was absolutely shaking and quaking. King was far too perceptive. Homeless, now believing himself to have discovered the real King, would now vow to make it clear to everyone else as well. A sentiment which made King wonder if Homeless knew that he was just a regular guy, which as a result made him panic, only managing to express the words, "just a regular human," which made Homeless even more nervous as he believed King knew his secret, that beyond his light powers, in reality, he was pretty much on par with the physicality of an average human. A truth he absolutely could not allow to get out given the nature of his peers, and so he'd attempt to strike and silence King before, emerging from below, it was Zombie Man, who'd now apprehended Homeless. And Homeless couldn't exactly retaliate, as to do so would mean the simultaneous bombardment of himself. The Black S's would not come to his aid either, as they again could not afford to give King any opportunity to get the better of them. They'd come to the conclusion that King was looking down on them like a bunch of pesky insects, and nothing more. And so a rage would well up in their collective soul as they wanted nothing more than to kill him. Meanwhile, Child Emperor expected King to pretty much go Super Saiyan and annihilate all the monsters in one fell swoop. A sentiment only furthered by the sudden fusion of every Black S and Golden S, a combination of 54 trillion. In the meanwhile, Metal Bat would kill off the 100 or so stragglers, with it now being expressed that once fused, the S's can no longer separate, making this the simultaneous end of countless lives, as well as the birth of the one true them. Prisoner managed to rescue Genos and Tatsumaki, as finally, the entity would triumphantly emerge. This was Platinum S. With this latest chapter, we open up to a very cute shot of a librarian Tatsumaki welcoming us to the Garden of Knowledge and Superpowers. To begin, we would firstly have the continuation of our matchup between Garou and Bang, as the forbidden technique has now more accurately been translated to be Exploding Heart Release Fist, which certainly has a more sinister ring to it. The two would firmly plant themselves in opposition to one another as they'd exchange staggering blows, one that Bang seemed to suffer the most from. With this, we'd receive a more in-depth explanation as to why this forbidden technique was so fearsome, as it allows one to momentarily surpass the limitations of their body by causing their heart to explosively pulse in coordination with each and every punch. A technique with such devastating offensive capabilities that not even the greatest defensive martial arts technique in the hands of its creator could effectively dismiss its damage, as the shockwaves were beginning to add up against Bang. Garou would go in for a kick as Bang would leap and grapple him from behind, much to his brother's surprise. Bang would now reassume the position of a strict master and readjust his stance to his former pupil, now questioning if he truly believed he could utilize the power of the water stream in such a state. Garou would sweep his leg back towards Bang yet again as Bang would once more leap, and this time repel Garou with a kick of his own, now calling him a foolish novice. As just then, Garou would be sure to exemplify his expertise. This was the Whirlwind Water Stream, a master technique we had previously seen Bang and Bomb use together against Elder Centipede. And so now the two simply could not believe their eyes. Bang would immediately do his best to repel the onslaught, a fallout so massive that a wandering ugly would notice and begin to smile wickedly. Bang was struggling to keep up. Previously, he and his brother only barely managed to pull the move off together. Yet here Garou was able to do so by his lonesome, with shockwaves so violent that they even turned the nearby debris into dust. Bang would question if this was the power of monsterization, as if he were to even sustain a single hit, the shockwaves would overwhelm him and subsequently break each and every bone in his body. But despite the odds, Bang refused to back down. He was intent on facing his former student head on, as this was the entire reason he had come to the battlefield in the first place. As boom, in such epic fashion, these gladiatorial figures of peak martial arts would exchange one final time, as the fist of Bang had been firmly placed onto the mug of this dragon-level disciple, as just then, shockwaves would ripple throughout Bang's body. He had been grazed. Blood would spew from several of his wounds and orifices as Bang would begin to fall, expressing that he couldn't manage to do it in quite as cool a fashion as his elder brother had, as parts of Garou's hardened exterior would break off and fall off, as Master Bang, now defeated, would collapse. Meanwhile, Monster Garou would begin trembling, shaking and holding onto his head as from behind, now looming over Bang's unconscious body, it was ugly. We would then make our way back to the other heroes as Platinum S was in the midst of emerging. As far as Zombie was concerned, such a combination attempt was an exercise in futility as they were facing King. However, an apprehended Homeless Emperor would wonder about that, as to him, King was being cautious and observant. What's more is that a single Black S could easily defeat an A-class hero, making the power of one comprised of 54 trillion an unimaginable power, then bluffing by saying that they still wouldn't be more powerful than himself, however, offering Zombie Man an opportunity to release him. However, Zombie Man had no intentions of killing him just yet, as he had plenty of questions to ask. That once King was done, it was over for him, as they wanted to know all about his power. As if his story was to be believed, then the Hero Association would need to be prepared for whomever or whatever was pulling the strings behind the scenes. Homeless would then look to the moon, which, if you remember, was scarred by Saitama, and question if Zombie Man wanted to know about God. As just then, God would speak. "Silence, I'm taking them back." From there, we would begin to receive manga panels colored by Murata himself, as again the moon was overhead in all its luminescent glory, as now reaching from its dark side would be a single hand, then further outstretching, as soon the entire body would be in clear view. From this point, God would arise atop the moon. Homeless was now more fearful than ever. Even more so than when faced by King. He was absolutely horrified and most definitely soiling himself, as Zombie Man would wonder what was wrong with him, as just then, Murata would bring tears to the eyes of readers everywhere with his art alone, as this was God in the most horrifyingly divine sense, in all his glory under a blue sky, amidst an unending sea of vibrant hills saturated with flowers of varying sorts, with a nude Homeless gazing in awe. God would speak once more, "Your power, your life," as Homeless would begin to scream in horror. "They are both forfeit," as God would instantly claim the villain's life, with his flesh now dissolving, with his final words being, "God." Zombie Man was in disbelief. Homeless Emperor was dead. It was clear to him that some outside force was to blame for this, going on to only further his belief that there was something granting Homeless his power, as overhead, the moon was now unaccompanied, and that was the chapter. Absolutely unreal. My goodness, to be receiving One Punch Man chapters with such frequency lately is a blessing all its own, but to receive content like this is jaw-dropping. Murata is easily one of the greatest manga artists of all time, and with chapters like this, it certainly cannot be understated. But beyond the art, God has emerged, and there is nothing more unsettling than that. The next stage of challenges in this series are bound to be unreal. But despite the insanity of all that, let us not overlook the major feats of Garou within this chapter. He may very well be the greatest martial artist in the world at this point, and has definitely surpassed Bang, who, in terms of power, at least according to us here at Plot Armor, is a top 5 hero. And it would seem as though more is happening to him as we speak. There is also the true power of Platinum S for us to look forward to, so yeah, a lot is going on with this series right now, and I hope that you'll be here with us to enjoy each and every moment of this incredible series. And you can certainly do so by subscribing to Plot Armor with notifications on, because when it comes to bringing you some of the best One Punch Man content on the platform, Plot Armor has you covered. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching, and have an awesome day. I love you.